It's getting so difficult to farm. My father and grandfather worked their lives away, so I wanted to try to introduce something different to kind of change the narrative a little.
Hey, we're at the Clark farm today, speaking with Kyle, and just going to talk about some of the best management practices that we've put on this farm, and also talk some about the creamery that's been installed here in the last year or so. When did you know you wanted to be a farmer?
It was probably around 3-ish. I just always enjoyed being out with my father on the farm and doing whatever he was doing. I've been fascinated by it as long as I can remember. My great-grandfather bought the original piece of the farm in 1907. My grandfather, Lynn, was 16. My great-grandfather passed away. They sold a handful of cows. He dropped out of high school to save money to hire someone to watch the farm, and then he went back and got his diploma from Delhi. Lynn farmed it here till my grandfather took over and bought up neighboring parcels, and father bought it from him, and I came back from college, went a little different avenue and joined in a partnership with my father, and then started the creamery shortly thereafter. I did 4 years at SUNY Morrisville, got my associates in animal science, and then went back for my bachelor's in dairy management. I got a job on their creamery they had on campus there, and that's kind of what spurred this whole dairy processing from the get-go.
What work did it take to get here?
I started planning it and working on it when I was still in school. So my father's, he's never questioned anything that I've ever wanted to do. This was a huge undertaking, massive amount of financial risk, which he was behind me the whole way. He's probably the best farmer I know. I wouldn't be able to do this without him there either. We're processing about 20% of our production, so milk truck still comes every day, but I bring milk down in about 400-gallon batches, maybe once or twice a day. We milk 200.
200. How many pounds of milk are you producing?
It's around 80 pounds per cow. We process about 5.5 days a week. We're making 4 different kinds of milk, half and half, cream, and butter. Met capacity a long time ago, and we're trying to stretch things and expand and look into new, more efficient equipment, because when we were putting the whole thing together, I thought I knew what I was doing, but I had a rude awakening.
The scale of it.
Yeah, unless you've actually done it, it's very, very unlike anything else. Getting things out delivered and even just fulfilling orders was proved to be even a challenge, and managing inventory and all that stuff. I'm just learning on the fly. Our customer service is hopefully good enough that people stick with us through this learning period.
I've heard nothing but great things.
The community support's been tremendous. It feels everyone's behind me and wishing me luck and supporting, and it's been very humbling, actually.
Can you tell us a little bit about your future plans here?
As far as the creamery is concerned, I mentioned we're processing about 25% of our milk. I'd really like to process 100%. A lot of planning's got to go into it. It's going to take 10 plus years probably, but that's where I want to be.
You guys used to have a couple of storages here. They were undersized. They were earthen storages as well. Part of a project done through federal program AWEEP. It was cost shared with WAC to implement a storage for the heifer barn and the main barn. What kind of benefits have you seen from those?
First and foremost, just functionality is far better. Manure handling has become far easier and more efficient. And then the size of the storage, keeping us from having to spread during the winter just for capacity reasons, has been the next biggest benefit. Our goal is never to get it empty. Our goal is to use it when it's going to be most cost effective for us. So we like to cover our hay ground when the hay comes off, as opposed to guys who don't have the capability of storing it, don't get to fertilize all of their hay ground at one time within days of the hay being cut. so we get a lot more value out of the manure that way.
And you guys are kind of limited on flat ground too. You guys have a lot of hills to climb to get manure where it needs to be. Can you talk a little bit more about the nutrient management credit program?
They do all the soil sampling to tell us where we need what nutrients, how much manure we can put on a field without overloading it. Not only is that better for runoff, but if we don't need that manure there, we should get it somewhere where it's going to benefit, our bottom line. You can put all the nutrients on a field you want, but if your pH isn't in line, you're not going to be able to utilize a lot of that.
If you're following your nutrient management plan properly, you can use those funds to offset some lime cost. Anything else that you've kind of done recently with the nutrient management credit program that you've purchased to help your manure handling?
Mostly we're just upgrading equipment all the time. Manure's really hard on stuff. New skid steer just recently.
And you kind of saved up with that over time to get to that point. Yeah.
We don't have a problem using the credits. So.
One of the more recent best management practices that have been implemented here on your farm had to do with grazing side of things, and I think that's more of a focus you guys are looking towards here in the future.
They did our calf pasture and a couple heifer pastures. We graze all our young stock and dry cows in the summer months. So to be able to intensively graze them is better for weed control and regrowth. Our growth rates are better.
Another BMP that just over the last couple of years has kind of had a resurgence here is cover crops. You guys have taken advantage here over the last couple of years, did some aerial, had mixed results. I think you guys drilled about 100 and some odd acres here this year.
Yeah, we broadcasted some and drilled the rest, but about 150 acres total, and we planted all winter rye, and we've had kind of a warm fall, so it's turned out good. That's a great program. There's no disputing the benefits of cover crops for holding soil and holding nutrients, especially on a lot of that steeper ground. So to have assistance getting them in it's a huge incentive, to get it done.
Calf facility is something that's on the docket.
We don't have enough space for calves. The real issue we have is in our wean barn. Comfort's not up to snuff, and we lose a lot of daily gain down there. We could raise healthier calves faster with better facilities.
We're here in the newest barn on Clark's farm, and we're going to talk about precision feed management. Kyle, you've been in the program for a handful of years now. We do everything from benchmarking your ration to taking dry matters of your forages. And every year we talk about new goals we want to focus on. When we first started PFM, one of your goals was to get some sort of tracker on your TMR wagon so that you know exactly what's being fed. How do you feel that's worked out?
The tracker system's been great. A lot of the things that it does, like you mentioned, dry matters, which is the biggest variable in our feed, is the moisture content, and everything's done by weight. So as the moisture varies, the nutrient content per that amount of weight varies. So with the tracker, Shai comes out every week just about and updates dry matters to make sure that what the cows are getting fed is what they designed them to be fed. They take samples monthly or during any feed change to keep those rations updated, and the tracker in real time records what's getting put into the mixer wagon so that we can ensure that the ration that Keenan, my nutritionist, and you worked on to develop is actually what's getting in front of the cows. We try to feed for as little refusals as possible, and we can really dial that in. Not to mention, as far as training people to mix feed and prepare feed, it's turned that into a day's learning curve as opposed to weeks, and then being able to monitor and make sure it's getting done properly and to a certain percentage of accuracy. It's been very helpful.
This is the Clark's corn silage. We look for the kernels being broken up so that the cows can digest it easier, because the outside of the kernel is hard. So we want to have it broken so that the inside is exposed. And we like to see the roughage part of it in small sections like this, which again is better in the cow's rumen, easier for them to digest and utilize all the nutrients. I'll take a sample of this and send it to a lab in Cornell where they will analyze it and send the analysis back. And then that is how I find out how much phosphorus and nitrogen, as well as energy and everything else, is in this corn silage that the Clarks harvested. Do you think that PFM, working with your nutritionist, has helped your production or profitability?
I think it definitely has. Taking dry matters and stuff's a monotonous task that a lot of the time we weren't getting done on time. And it's just such a huge part of keeping an accurate ration in front of the cows. So cow health has definitely improved, and we're staying up on it and getting it done more timely.
Big part of precision feed management is making sure that phosphorus and nitrogen aren't getting overfed, which we know when it is overfed, it just comes out the other end of the cow. Can you tell me how that is intertwined with your nutrient management plan?
The Watershed's motive behind the nutrient management plan is to control how much phosphorus is being put into the soil so that it's utilized by the plant that's grown there and not leached. You ensure that we don't overfeed it to then ensure that my nutrient management plan allows me not to over-apply it to a certain field.
Have any of your goals changed since the creamery's been in place?
A lot of our feeding goals have changed since we started doing the creamery, obviously. Components of milk, butter, fat, and protein are what we get paid on commercially. It is the most important thing, but when you're taking it and processing it yourself, it almost has another level of importance. So we have been feeding for more pounds of components produced as opposed to volume of production. So we fed a lot more straw for the polyunsaturated fats, and we work cottonseed in just about every winter if it's reasonably priced enough for the same reason, and it's a forage extender for our corn silage. We also take all this inventory data and try to plan out our next year's crop rotation. Water quality is extremely important. I want to be able to have someone someday call me, say they're following in their great-grandfather's footsteps, and if we don't care about this stuff now, that could not happen.